Today, we're going to break down a fictional, but honestly a frighteningly plausible event, the 2026 conflict between a U.S.-Israeli coalition and Iran. We're going to dive into its deep origins, how it all escalated so terrifyingly fast, and the huge ripple effects that spread all over the world.
So, we're jumping right into the fire. February 28, 2026. This is the day it all kicks off. The United States and Israel begin joint combat operations, and that triggers a massive Iranian retaliation, plunging the whole region into open warfare. But how on earth did we get here?
To really understand this war, we have to rewind and look at the decades of tension that came before it. This wasn't a conflict that just popped up out of nowhere. It's built on a long history of deep-seated animosity.
At the very heart of it all are four fundamental drivers. You've got these profound ideological differences, really deep religious divides, completely opposite national interests, and of course, ever-present security risks. Any one of these is enough to cause serious problems, but when you mix them all together, well, you get a volatile mix that was basically just waiting for a spark to set off a total inferno.
Okay, so with that backstory in mind, let's look at how this simmering conflict just exploded into a full-scale war. The first phase happened incredibly fast, with major events unfolding at a really breathtaking pace.
Now here's what really threw gasoline on the fire. The single event that just accelerated everything was the killing of Iran's supreme leader in the initial strikes. This was a massive turning point. Taking out a key figurehead like that immediately raised the stakes to the absolute maximum. It was truly a point of no return.
And you can see just how quickly things spiraled. It all went down in a matter of weeks. From the first strikes on February 28th, to Iran's huge retaliation in early March, to the crippling of global oil supplies by mid-March. The pace of escalation was just stunning. And by the end of the month, the war had totally changed, with the U.S. calling for a full-blown revolution inside Iran itself.
A conflict like this was never going to stay contained, right? The Middle East is such a complex web of alliances and rivalries. A war of this size was always going to pull in other players, and that meant the instability spread far beyond Iran's borders.
And this is where it all gets really messy. All the key players in the region are walking a tightrope. Saudi Arabia is quietly backing the U.S. and Israel, but they are terrified of direct retaliation. The UAE and other Gulf states, they're right in the crosshairs because they host American military bases. And then you have Iran's proxies, like Hezbollah and the Houthis, who are just adding fuel to the fire, dragging Lebanon into the conflict, and basically shutting down shipping in the Red Sea.
The shockwaves from this conflict spread way beyond the Middle East. With the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea shut down, the global economy took a massive hit. And the humanitarian crisis that followed, it was felt most sharply all the way across Africa.
So you've got skyrocketing fuel prices hitting developing economies the hardest. The disruption of Red Sea trade chokes off a vital artery for commerce. Diplomatically, the African Union is caught right in the middle. And tragically, the instability creates these new waves of refugees, putting an immense strain on already fragile humanitarian systems.
So, with the whole world watching and just holding its breath, the huge question becomes, how does this end? Analysts have mapped out a few potential futures, and they range from a clear winner to a grueling long-term struggle. So what's the endgame? Well, there are really four main possibilities. First, the Iranian regime could just collapse. That could lead to a new democratic Iran, or, complete and utter chaos. Second, the two sides could maybe reach a negotiated settlement, but that seems pretty unlikely given all the bad blood. Third, it could devolve into a long, bloody proxy war. And fourth, the absolute worst-case scenario. The conflict could blow up into a full-on regional war that pulls in all the major world powers.
And while we can all hope for the best, it's probably wise to prepare for something else. The expert consensus is that a long, grinding proxy war is the most likely outcome. What that means is a conflict fought not directly between the main countries, but through their allies and other groups across the region. It would mean years of bloodshed and instability with no clear winner in sight.
And as if the actual war wasn't bad enough, there's a whole other war being fought with information. We're seeing claims of false flag operations, stories about how this is all really a war for oil, and Iranian counterclaims that the evidence is all fabricated. In this kind of fog of war, it becomes almost impossible for anyone on the outside to know what's real and what's just propaganda.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that in our interconnected world, there's really no such thing as a truly local war. The fighting in Iran might be thousands of miles away for some of us, but its effects are being felt everywhere, from the gas pumps in Ethiopia to the stock markets in New York, which all leads to one final unsettling question. In a world disconnected, can any war really, truly be contained?